So I'm going to speak about some mystical concepts today. I had a few conversations with people. One was with this lady named Michelle. She said, we have to let people penetrate their own selves. And I thought about that for a long time because she told me I'm giving away my blessing. I take away my own self-respect. In other words, to respect the darkness is to respect the light. Who needs a blessing? Someone who needs blessing, who doesn't have the blessing. And I was like seeing under layers of layers, there's like that dark place. And so in purity and cleanliness, it helps people create a dwelling place of the divine. It happens on the inside, then we do it in our home, we do it in our relationships and in every aspect. And it's our blessings. We earn our own blessings. Then I was thinking about perfection. We're all always connected to it, but it can feel very far. So we strive, we aim to attain it. I learned that when I was at a Chassidus class with a group from chevra yisroel in Crown Heights. And, thinking about Boaz, I'm going to speak about two people from the Torah. Boaz was the partner of Ruth. They had the ancestor, but not very far away, like not too far from David, King David. And he said, Hashem is with me. Then we think of like Bilam versus Moshe. Bilam was like the prophet of the non-Jews. Basically, he was like a spiritual prostitute for hire. He was a hireling, they say. He was able to curse and bless, like we said earlier, blessing and cursing for hire. He used his powers. He knew about spiritual science. He knew the technology, and he used it for like money, for power. And versus Moshe was refined. So that's spiritual. So Bilam was more like the psychic, or like we could say that the dark, the light, the snake, right? And then the transforming energy. Then when we think of the physical, which always reflects these layers, the mitochondria are like foreign little sperm shapes. They actually look like sperm and they give energy to the cell, but we only track them through the mother, which is very interesting. So we would say that maybe that's the remnant of like, Cain and Abel from Eve were from the snake. So we could say that in people, we have this mitochondria giving us energy, and it's like the physical energy, ATP it's called, adenotriphosphate. And I did learn a little science. And then there's this man, I almost say he who should not be named. His name is David Shwecke. I felt like the snake was wrapping him. He was so snake-like. But anyway, he said that King David liked hairy women, and only the Jews who were shaving their private parts at that time. And actually, a woman I used to work with named Shayna, or I guess I still work with her, but not recently, she was asking me about that today. She has some special needs, but she was talking to me about whether or not we should shave it. Anyway, so David's sons, their sons went to the front of the battle to scare the enemies. When it comes to like Gad and Asher, they were so let me backtrack. Gad and Asher were the ones that they had the concubine mothers, Bilhah and Zilpah. Gad was very strong. And Asher had the best oil, beautiful women, and God had these they would come in like cut, and it would be like a third of the person was chopped off, their arm, their head, and part of their torso. So these very strong, healthy, genes came out in these women, and the men went, and they were like hairy, and the men went off to the front of the battle to scare the enemies. And all this made me think, let me go study Sefer Yetzirah. This is written by Avram Avinu, and it says it was actually written before that by Aryeh Kaplan. And the thing is, before I get into it, I want to share a few other things, and maybe I'll get into it tomorrow. But some of the other things that got me into this topic was specifically, there's a chevra of yisroel class I mentioned, and in a way, when we think of hairs, right? I mentioned hairiness. When we think of hairs, we think of and relationship to other, like who is the other, the dark, the light, the snake, the psychic, the spiritual, the power. So the end of the hair, like take a hair, right? And I'm talking about shaving hair, and today actually I had to brush my hair very, very well. There was a lot of knots turning into dreads, and a lot of hair came out. I was afraid that I would look like I have very thin hair, but it looks okay. It looks like I have, maybe it made my hair healthier actually. So anyway, the hair, each one, we have to follow the path. So let me show you like one here. I don't know if you could see it. It's a few. Let's get one here. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. So one here, the end has the most growth potential. And we need to follow the path. It's like we're growing like hairs toward the root, the bulb, to see how it really is. We go back to our root, to our bulb. There's like a futility in our progress. When we think of other, there's two types of darknesses or fogs. One protects from dissolving. It's like a protection. And two, one conceals the light. There's two kind of headlamps or light works. One elevates up to the brights, and the second brings the illumination down. There's two kinds of sanctuaries or accompanyings. Only seeing God, and two, bitterly thirsting for God. So what is the relationship with other? Whether it's dark, light, whether we're the light, we're the dark, we're the sanctuary, we need sanctuary. It's trying something new. This is space and time. We have to refresh it. It's seeing whole. Like, okay, backing up, saying, trying something new. We're saying, I'm willing to try a new thing. Space and time, refresh it. Take time, take space. It's going to be new when we get to it. So giving it time to renew, us being a new actor, and also seeing in a new way. We see the good and the bad, the light and the dark, what we like, what we don't like. And we have to stay in possibilities, plural, that there's other ways it could happen, other things that could be. And we even have to just say, remember, a tzaddik in Judaism, a righteous person, upright person, falls 7 times, gets up 7 times. And this gives us a strong sense of self. We're not dependent on variables. It gives us resilience, the ability to bounce back, and the confidence to ask for help. And in continuing, thinking about what it is we could offer another, let's say it's a partnership, a husband. We can see we can see what's actually offered by the person if it provides me with what I'm missing. Can see what I can offer. Is it going to bring out the best in you? And we could seek one who values what I'm offering. And in the case of the first, if what they're offering is what I'm missing, I value it, right? So we can appreciate what's being given. That fulfills me. The moon always is waxing and waning. It has phases and it always is full. We can only see part. In other words, there's a visible, just small area sometimes, but it doesn't mean the whole moon is not there. And also, darkest before dawn. It shines only when it's night. Then the moon is gone and it's darkest when... and then we have the sun come out. Actually, the star, there's a morning star. It's at the end of the night when the morning comes, and it gets, as soon as it's rising, the sun comes out and can't see it anymore. It doesn't mean the star's not there. It means we can't see it in the daytime. So it takes sunlight, the moon, and shares when there is no sunlight to light the way. And in thinking about convex, concave, like a signet ring, like a wax seal, like if we're waxing and waning, like whether it's sticking out or sticking in, like the moon, I'm going to share about Tu B'Av. Tu B'Av is the 15th of Av. It passed already. Single women wear white and borrowed clothes, something borrowed, and the idea that we don't own our own body. We bring in what is ourself from a higher place. We're shining through layers and reminded that it's all external garments. And they lift their arms like, come and see me, like, want me. I'm actually wearing white today. It's interesting. And then we know there's... that white has everything in it, all the potentials that are not expressed, like the moon when we can't see all of it, and so, or like the dark, like the light, and it's our essence, our core. To thine own self be true. This is when we bring it into expression, and there's two opinions. One is Bavli of Babel. This is like the exile period, and two is Yerushalmi, like the redemption period. So Bavli period or Bavel, the women borrowed from the lower. In other words, the yechida is the oneness. You need two to become one. Echad means one. Yechid means to become one. It's unity. This sparks from the darkness. In other words, it's the returning light. Yerushalmi, or the time of Jerusalem, or the time of redemption, they borrowed from above, which is like a straight light. So they do this erudition. It's called pilpul. It's interpretations that are not identical but can be resolved. We have to dig for truth, going in, and derivatives, and everything significant to each owns vision. We don't have to obsess or dismiss. But at Revelation, we can ask, all is this. Know this and that. In other words, the straight light won't have anything to bounce off of to be a returning light, right? You need to have an edge for that. So that's important to remember. And then after Tu B'Av, this holiday of the 15th of Av, all the wood was collected for the altar for the year. And also, another thing that happened in history was the tribe of Benjamin was allowed back again to marry the daughters and everything. They had a woman with a Levite that had been attacked, raped, but gang raped, really. Like, I don't know what to call it. It's horrific. And then cut up the pieces of her when she was dead to all the tribes and said, we cannot allow anyone to marry Binyamin. It happened in his territory. They were so disgusting the way they behaved, and there was a big war, and they weren't allowed to marry them. And then this was the time Binyamin was allowed back. And also all the tribes were actually allowed to intermarry at this time. And finally, there was the deaths of the 40 years after the rebellion stopped, the 40 years in the desert, as far as I can remember. It was basically that they were all, they didn't want to have their lives ended earlier. So at the time where they finally died, they were able to continue, with the redemption. But it was halted kind of until the people who had rebelled passed away. And Akiva, and I want to share that the teacher for these classes has been Rabbi Kamman. He's teaching from the Lubavitcher Rebbe's, whether it's the Mitchell Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, the Rashab, Maharash, or the 7th Lubavitcher Rebbe. He's a great transmitter. His name is Rabbi Kamman. And so actually, just a bit more of what he was sharing was that the fundament of the fire comes from under the moon. So, actually, I'm sorry. I will stop there and I'll just share from, I'll share more next time. I'll share more. There's Sefer Yetzirah to share. There's more from Rabbi Kamman, and there's others. But for now, I'll just share. Akiva Tatz teaches that receiving prophecy happens when we're at peace and joy. And that we have to be dan lekafschos. We have to be the spoon that doesn't judge anyone except for the side of merit. Because people are in so much pain. No one has anything for us in excess. Everything's precious right now. So Abraham partnered with God. He jumped farther than he could have on his own through his 10 tests. Abraham is the first Jew, the first Muslim, the first Christian, everything. He was the first Jew, and then Christianity and Islam came later. So anyway, with full faith, he knew God would carry him the rest of the way. So faith is what defines a Jew, and any of the religions that came later with the monotheism. And also to remember that at the time of the redemption, we know that we're sitting at the table with the Messiah. There's actually the Leviathan and the Shahar Bar. These will be eaten by the righteous people. We don't have to say it's only physical. It could be spiritually. The Leviathan is the Leviathan, which is like this big sea creature, and the Shahar Bar is this land creature. And in a way, you are what you eat. So depends if that's the source of where we're eating from. And apparently they will kind of dissolve each other in the time of Mashiach, the Messiah, the redemption. So I'll stop here, and I will continue more about from those two sources and others, and I look forward to sharing. Have a good day. Bye.